Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Summit 3 Europe by Gigabyte. This is our final online match. After this, two teams will have qualified from Europe, with perhaps the third team having a shot in the redemption vote on LD. Of course, I'm joined here by the lovely KOTLGuy. Dakota, it's time for Cloud9 versus Asus.Polar, best of 5.
We got one more spot to fill here. One of these two teams is going to make all the way here to the house to compete and go head-to-head. And my God, what a story we've had so far. Polar have looked dominant all the way up to this point, and they meet up toe-to-toe with Secret there at the winner bracket final. And, well, Cloud9, who got knocked down relatively early, have battled their way all the way through, almost the typical Cloud9 Cinderella story, hoping to get here in their final spot.
All right, looks like I unmuted the wrong mic, so I think I was muted for the intro there. Sorry about that, guys, but yeah, it's time now for our lower bracket finals. Wouldn't be on the Summit cast without some production fails, but we do have a draft underway. It's Asus.Polar taking on Cloud9 G2A. Here we are in the Gigabyte, or the Summit 3 by Gigabyte, I should say, and, well, the draft proceeding quickly. The teams took a long time with their first two bans each, and now they are moving right along here as we push on forward, and let's get some Dota 2 sound going. All right, here we go. So, first overall pick Wisp coming out from Asus.Polar. The reply from Cloud9 G2A is going to be a Magnus and a Phoenix. Some heavy team fight for them. Asus.Polar trying to counter both of these heroes with the Skywrath Mage. Silencer was another option, but the Skywrath, I think, a pretty potent pick this game. In fact, even can deal with the Juggernaut if you silence him before he's able to get a Manta style or Blade Fury's way towards safety. They are squishy, though, Dakota. And now they're going to pick up the Lina. Still a lot of low HP heroes. Remaining. One good RP with a Jug cleaving over the top, and it just feels like Asus will melt.
Well, if Cloud9 are going to go with kind of what they've been running with in fashion, we could see an Enigma picked up here. They typically like to run the more greedier support along with their Magnus and Phoenix if they want huge team fight burst. Kind of the highlight reel potential in the making here from Cloud9, but just to echo from what you're talking about, yeah. And there he is, Enigma.
Oh,
Cloud9, they love to trend. I mean, that's pretty apparent.
This is where I think Asus.Polar may go back and say, man, I wish that Skywrath was a silencer right now.
Yeah.
Single target silence is nice. Global, that much sweeter versus this draft.
You know, versus Phoenix, who's expected to be in the offlane, Skywrath and Silencer are probably the best two you can get. Rubik's right there as well as a way to really prevent the bird from getting a lot done, but you can understand where they're coming from. Skywrath Mage just is more attractive, so, you know, I guess you got that going for you. But overall, you get heavy burst potential, and, yeah, having that Silencer can render something like an Enigma useless, but they're going to have to deal with it for now. But we get a Spirit Breaker now picked up from the Polar squad side, so that is a bit more map control and can strike fear into your opponent's side. Kind of not knowing where the Spirit Breaker can be. Once he's off the map, you have to make sure that you have your communication online, because otherwise he'll be charging on forward and you're going to be locked down severely.
Reserve time.
All right, fifth ban coming out now. The Tony does get removed. Though, to be honest, even if they picked a Tiny, I mean, I feel like this draft deals with it okay. They do have some long cooldown ultimates. The Magnus ult, the Enigma ult, or the Tiny Wisp, they can pretty much fight all the time. So I think that is a decent ban, but I still feel like if it went late, you get your double Black Hole, your double RP, a super farm Jug, and that lineup can take a Tiny Wisp late game. I suppose they could get run over by split push in the mid, but what are you thinking here for that Wisp partner?
Probably a Bristleback.
Bristle Boss?
The Bristle Boss, I feel like, is the #2, but he has been banned out. So they're actually hitting him where it hurts here. So outside of that, what, maybe a PA? But then again, she could be a bit susceptible to all this huge team fight because she has to be in the meat of the fight just to really make it count. So I don't know if we're going to get more of a traditional kind of a Wisp candidate here, but we'll have to see. Now for Cloud9, they're the one who control the final pick. The secondary support could be a Witch Doctor. No, it's a Mirana. Lady Mirana. We don't get to see her in any position.
It's a 5-position Mirana, it seems. I mean, I suppose it could be a support Phoenix, but I think we're... Well, you know, the other option is if they want to play... I mean, I think probably the Mirana is a support either way. I guess they can run this Enigma... Either two options. They could run the jungle Enigma, or they could run the Enigma in the off lane and run a slightly stronger laning stage with two laning supports in the Phoenix Mirana. I would lean towards them jungling the Enigma here.
What about
that's a bit more likely.
Off lane Mirana and a support Phoenix? The Bone 7 Mirana?
It's possible.
It's just we don't get to see her that much anymore. Back in the day, it was get that Bane, get that Mirana, be a dominant force in the early game, punish the mid laner, and that way you can look to bounce back and really snowball. And if it is a support Mirana, it's probably going to be more or less the same. You're camping, you're sniping that mid lane, you're making life difficult for the Polar's mid lane, which could be Alina right here from what I'm seeing so far.
You know what's crazy is we saw her all the time. She has not been touched since 6.82, where the leap was slightly nerfed. The speed at which you moved was reduced. The distance you jumped was reduced, but not a whole lot. It was a fairly minor change, to be honest. I think it's much more that other heroes have just gotten stronger. That seems to be the main reason why we don't see Mirana. And, well, Asus.Polar, who's that Wisp partner going to be?
I think
Bristleback actually already banned, so that's not a possibility.
I don't know. And looking over their history, they could be a bit rusty with their Wisp play. I mean, yeah, now you're kind of reaching at that point. I mean, not saying that Gyro's a bad pick, but
I'm trying to think, what are some of the old combos? Sven used to be a thing. I don't really feel like Sven matches up that well. Slark, okay. That's pretty good. But yeah, I feel like they needed one of those very good at dodging fights and being selective about when he engages type of heroes. It doesn't really feel like a game where you can just pick like a big man fighting carry and walk away, because you're up against just so much lockdown.
Yeah.
The black hole, the RP. This will be an Illidan Slark who has a lot of weight on his shoulders. A lot of weight on his shoulders.
I couldn't make a perfect hero for Illidan aside from Slark. If you want to play a bit more ballsy and be able to try to get away with it, that's really what you want to be able to do. But Cloud9 have got this big clashing team fight lineup that I have to say, just based on the paper, they have the better draft. It's just so much huge team fight potential right here. Asus feels a bit more single target, a bit more, you know...
very snowball-y.
Yeah, a bit more snowball-y. I think Cloud9 have a lot of options to fall back on. They have great early game presence with this Mirana grab, great late game presence with the Jug, and then once the Phoenix and Magnus get their level 6s together, that's when we can really see the fireworks come out here. But
it's I think for Cloud9, it's just a much more versatile draft. It's a bit weak in the laning stage in the sense that you're running a laning Magnus, not the strongest laner, although Fada seems to be getting a lot done with that hero, in spite of any deficiencies the hero may have in the laning stage. They are running the jungle Enigma, so like for that first 3 to 5 minutes, and on paper they feel a bit underwhelming, and it's just like in the mid game and the late game, this team has so many options. They could try to sneak a Roshan with the Enigma Juggernaut. They can push pretty well with the Healing Ward and the Eidolons. They can team fight amazingly with the RP, the Black Hole.
Yeah.
Whereas it looks like for Asus.Polar, they want lots of small, like, constant skirmishes. Little fights around the map, try to spread out C9, don't let them hit their big wombo combo. You know, the other hero I was thinking at the last moment there for Asus right before they picked Slark was CK, but I don't really feel like it's a good CK game, because you're up against the Egg, the Omni Slash with Cleave from Empower, RP, and Black Hole, and Midnight Pulse. So there's just so much AoE here to deal with a CK that I feel like by the time they went for their Wisp partner, Asus just, they didn't have any other options besides this Illidan Slark.
Yeah, I don't want to be calling out Polar, but I mean, if it took me a half second to just kind of look back at Cloud9's recent lineups and make that call for Enigma, I'm sure they could have done the same and maybe considered changing up their Skywrath to that Silencer. Man, a Silencer is just, would have been so juicy for their lineup now, but well, they're not going to have that, so they're going to be battling out without it, and well, it wouldn't be Dota if we didn't have to start off with a small bit of a pause here, but I wager for Cloud9, it's going to be pretty standard. Have Enigma work with the jungle. They're probably going to anticipate an early invade coming out from Polar here to try to remove some of those camps and easy access points for Big Daddy to work with. But as long as he has room to work, he can get a mech together, and then they can make some early pushes towards the tier 1 in the mid lane and the bottom lane, and then those points are removed, and it becomes a lot easier if they wanted to segue into a Roche and just kind of take over the game from there. Yeah, defending the jungle is definitely important here early. Now, Cloud9's level 1 is, I wouldn't say it's great, but with Arrow, you always have some kill potential, especially if the enemy team just looks to run away, back off at the last minute. I see you enjoying the finer things in life with Twitch chat here. You know, people apparently haven't been around for a while. They're curious where Sing Sing is on Cloud9. Welcome back to Europe, everyone. I mean, I'm not laughing at Sing Sing. I'm just laughing at, like, what, this person is not living under a rock. They've been excavated from I don't want to have several miles underground. They're just finding that out. Certain individual probably is just being a troll. You know, as if we don't have to see enough of those. Mr. Icy Exort? No, it might be a certain baby rager. Oh, a baby rager. Okay. FNG letting us know he is coming. Power off. Do we have to make sure we cover the mini-map, LD? I know the game just started, but fortunately, they haven't left their fountain. They could get the early impression from them kind of heading out from the fountain that this is what the lane's going to be. But I'm excited. A Fata Magnus game. I mean, that just, ever since he's been able to take it over, many call S4 son of Magnus, but we might have to go ahead and check out the family history there. I think he has a lot of children with the way some of these people play this hero. Fata's so
He's
good.
A prolific father.
You got a Rise to consider. He's probably got a wealth of children.
Oh, man, I'm excited. Best of 5 series should be an excellent one. Asus.Polar, you know, one consideration is they could be a little drained after yesterday. They were so close to knocking Secret out and qualifying, but just couldn't get the job done in that deciding Game 5. And it was not so much that they lost, and Secret is an excellent team, so I don't think they're bothered by that, but more just how grueling that series was. It goes 5 games, it gives a lot of tape on the team, and whereas Cloud9, they've been in the lower bracket, but they've been just easily 2-0ing most of the teams they come across. They convincingly beat down NIP in their previous match. I forget who they played before that. The Empire match was kind of a tough one, but the team they played after Empire was Alliance. They also stomped Alliance, so with that, they come into this match maybe a little bit more well-rested.
Well, we'll see if that's going to be the case or not, but away we go, folks. Best of 5 matchup here. We got one more spot for these two teams to take, and then, well, the winner does move forward. Loser, they might need to consider building together a campaign for that redemption vote. I'm sure neither team want to have to worry about falling back on that. Cloud9 are undefeated in redemption votes for Summit, though.
100% redemption vote win rate.
Yeah.
As a certain Baby Rage would say.
Well,
but, okay.
They're anticipating that early jungle movement, but Polar are not going there. So this possibly means that we're going to see Big Daddy have free work in the jungle, which is wonderful for your Enigma play. But this is very passive start here for Polar. They just kind of are establishing their own lane setup and not looking to go anywhere. A bit unusual. I figured they want to at least put some sort of threat. Is it just because Cloud9 seem to have a better level 1 game, which, you know, you could make the argument for?
Asus's level 1 is pretty strong. I don't know. Maybe they're just not confident in their ability to catch Cloud9 off guard and just want to play it safe, don't want to take any risks. But, you know, the Wisp is maybe not the strongest level 1 hero, but your Skywrath gets a lot done there. Lina Spearbreaker are pretty good, but I suppose the charge isn't reliable. You are up against the Arrow, though.
Yeah.
And that can always just, oh crap, one of us got arrowed, we just fed first blood.
That's the thing, is maybe you haven't had to go against Mirana in quite a while. You got to remember that she is in the game, and an arrow could come out from the dark at any moment, and before you even realize that she's in the game, you could be handing over your first blood. So
it may happen even if you don't go into the jungle. We'll see. And with that, Dakota, we should introduce the teams here. I'll run through Asus.Polar very quickly. We've got FNG. He'll be handling the IO, now delivering his early bottle. Illidan on your Slark. Lil, going to be playing the Skywrath Mage. Going mid will be G, who was explosive versus Secret yesterday. And Lina, and then into the offlane goes Sadoy as your Spirit Breaker.
And for Radiant side, we got Cloud9, G2A, Bone 7 on your Phoenix, who's going to get harassed early and pounced on. We'll have to Icarus dive the hell out of there. Mid lane, it's Fata, who's going to be playing your Magnus. Just nearby, Big Daddy, No Tail's going to be playing your jungling Enigma. Along the bottom, Misery, who did already fire off an arrow in the mid lane. It did miss G. And, of course, none other than the illustrious Eternal Envy going to be playing your Jug as he tries to chop away here at Sadoy.
All right. You know, he's going to get this early reign of protection. We'll probably see the Bassi coming out for him in short order. So far, the offlane Spear Breaker is getting decent levels. Not the easiest hero to bring down, and certainly not for Mirana. This hero does not have the best base damage. She's not really a great harasser. It's all about hitting that long-range arrow. If you hit that, then you could potentially get a kill, but else you should be A-okay. See Envy not even leveling up Blade Fury. It's the early healing ward to help deal with some of these feisty auto attacks that Sadoy brings to the table. And so early on, we're seeing just spam more mid lane. Shockwave coming out from Fana, your Dragon Slave coming out from the Lina. Bone 7 seems to be the offlaner who's really having a tough time. And
yeah,
as well he should. He's up against a full tri-lane. Meanwhile, on C9, they are jungling the Enigma. They're running a weaker laner in the Mirana. And so, as a result, he is getting some punishment here, I think is the way to put it. Still just level 1.
Yeah, well, you know, as expected, going against one of the best zoners in the game in your Skywrath Mage. As long as he's here, he's going to be keeping Bone 7 in check, but that also means they can't really roam around and add pressure towards Fata in the mid lane, and once they do so, then Bone 7 has a much easier time in that off lane. Looks like they will guard out the 2-minute rune and head right back towards that top lane. So Bone 7's going to have to adventure elsewhere, and it looks like it could be back to base for now. I mean, he doesn't even have a jungling kind of a hero where he can fall back and work with that, plus you have Big Daddy already working in the jungle. I'm just expecting we're going to be seeing a pretty slow start here for Phoenix until at least Polar consider changing up the lanes or moving around quite a bit.
Yeah, maybe we see that catch-up Midas coming out from Bone 7. For now, though, he is the man who struggles the most this game as far as his levels go. Early on, though, Asus.Polar with the slight deficit in experience. It's a very even game, and neither team particularly aggressive in the laning stage. There's the Skywrath and the Mirana, the two big heroes that can go for early kills, but outside of that, these heroes want their experience early on. The Jug wants to get his level 6 as quickly as possible. Of course, your Magnus wants to blink RP, and the Arcane's often in the mix there. We'll see if Fada. I think he skipped them in one of his matches recently, but generally we see the early Arcanes picked up. And, you know, he'll relocate. The Lina wants to get her Laguna Blade online. Just not drafts that are looking to clash a lot early on.
Yeah. 1-7 still been moving around quite a bit. Misery for a while. They're touching near the top lane, but even if he was to get something landed there at the top, they can't really follow it up with anything. So Misery and Boneset have kind of been running around a bit here, not really finding a home. Maybe looking to land a Hail Mary of an arrow here in the mid lane.
No ward, though, for G. It is daytime, though. That's nighttime. Maybe that goes differently.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you've got a little extra time to react there.
You know, even the zoning arrows matter. It keeps your mid laner, you know, kind of in check. Lets them know, hey, we're here and about. You better not get too reckless here with your CS game and expect G to kind of have on his fancy feet here as he continues to move in and out. Doesn't want to allow to be an easy target whatsoever. And he gets caught with an arrow mid lane. Sure enough, just as I jinx it there, Fata looking to wait behind will eventually skewer him to the other side. LSA does connect. He tries to head up to the north and to help, but can't get there. First blood. Gonna go to Bone 7. And he certainly needed it.
Oh, good call. I did not catch that one. So thanks for the bailout, buddy. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
Did get the follow-up skewer. And you know, with Mirana, it's always just about hitting that one arrow. Even if you miss 10, 15, 20 before, all it really costs you is mana and perhaps a fountain trip. So, unfortunately for Asus, although they're a good early roaming lineup, if they want to, their offlaner could get involved, although Sadoi's not choosing to. But the issue for him is there's a decent ward here, so he may well be spotted on the charge. Arrow coming in now bottom. That one's going to miss.
Does he see it? I mean, he had to know the range creep got hit by the arrow. I mean, Misery's looking to come in from behind.
There's no points of Blade Fury. He's going max crit and healing ward. He's entirely skipping it, so kill potential against the Spirit Breaker with 6 armor and almost 1,000 HP and a stout shield is basically non-existent here bottom. We don't see this build very often. Normally you get at least the 1 point, but versus the Spirit Breaker, the Blade Fury doesn't bring too much to the table early on. In fact, it brings basically nothing aside from some damage.
Just checking base here with Big Daddy. Not really surprised. He's getting as he pleases. He's almost level 6 at just over 5 minutes in. Just probably to push towards that mech arrow mid lane. Woo! That one right behind. Gee, he is probably getting a bit anxious at how much pressure is coming his way towards this mid lane. I mean, for God's sakes, Bone 7 is still here. Doesn't want anything to do with that off lane get up, but they get a nice little D ward.
Oh, that's big though. This makes the
in
lane
the dark.
even harder.
Yeah,
she's really in the dark now.
Oh man, as if it wasn't dodging arrows before. Wasn't hard enough now.
I think I've managed to miss every single arrow except for the one bottom. But
well, he's lining up for another one, so don't go too far from the mid lane. Misery wants to connect again.
Hold my hand, please, Dakota. I forgot how to control the camera. All right, top burn is going to spawn here. FNG bottles up a bounty. Meanwhile, bottom. It's an illusion here for Eternal Envy. That early bottle is helping him to stay in lane along with the healing ward level up. And well, if they're okay not getting kills on Sadoi, it seems like it's otherwise a good choice. Just to sustain him. It allows them to get away with the Enigma. It lets the Mirana roam more, and it means Eternal Envy is more of an independent juggernaut. He don't need no cat lady to keep him going. Still, though, this offlane Phoenix, level 2.
Yeah, does have
compared to the level 5, actually level 6 Sadoi now.
Yeah, I mean, Misery even almost level 4 on the more support roaming Mirana, but
it is a tough lane for Phoenix. Skywrath Mage alone can really zone this hero, and if you ever get the silence off and he can't dive away, then he's just mincemeat. So I think it's not the easiest lane, but it's a really slow start. Arrow does connect bottom, though. This one I caught. All right. We're back in business. Omni Slash available, but the creep wave's coming in. Has no Blade Fury, so Sadoi will just casually charge away. But with that charge out, they want to push. And with the healing ward plus the Eidolons,
yep,
this could be an early tower.
That's actually nicely done there. I mean, they probably have the idea that they're not going to be taking down that Spirit Breaker, but if they can get him away from this tower, they can just move on forward and pressure here with Big Daddy now getting involved. They look to scout out with those illusions and Eidolons from the backhand side, and it seems like they're going to be able to take out this tier 1 access point, and all that's between them and an easy early Roche is getting down that mid tier 1, so it could be a follow-up. But for now, they can just kind of push on forward and see if they can force out any early rotations from Polar if possible.
Fata getting aggressive here, wants to move up into the Dire jungle. He's scouted by G, stunned instantly. There's a Laguna Blade. He needs to bottle up a bit more to get the mana for it, though. Skewer comes out. Is he still in range? Yeah, he is. Turns to throw the Shockwave, and should be getting zapped here. Got him. Oh! Easy takedown.
Right in the back. Meanwhile, though...
Meanwhile, a Wild Illidan is at the tier 2 tower. Could go Midas. I don't know if we mentioned that, but it is C9 pushing in this bottom lane.
They're going to just do this as long as they can without, you know, being punished.
Oh, they got a really good ward up there. This is going to see Sedoy and Lil coming instantly. They know about all 3 heroes in the neighborhood, and if need be, they can just walk away. Well, maybe not. Not against Charge. Black Hole could be used to try and set this one up.
Arrow.
Gets the Malefice with an arrow there. They'll get the job done in Sedoy, and the cow will fall. They get more. They're going to try to take the tower.
That was a nice facial setup from Misery, just expecting the charge as a beeline towards Envy. Thanks for an easy setup, and this time they have plenty of damage to take down the beastly cow. So they get what they want out of this lane. The tier 2 goes down. So that's 2 towers grabbed for Cloud9. They do lose Fata in that mid lane, but overall just a C9 victory there. Now they can look to take this pressure to a different side and just continue on forward. And because of all the pressure built up on the bottom, Bone7 finally has some room to spread his wings up here and get some farm for himself.
Yeah, a lot of space for him now. Hits level 4 and suddenly can catch up. Like you said, he still needs the time. He's a bit under-leveled, but, you know, the thing is, it's not like he has to do it alone. He can be the follow-up here. They've got the Mirana to initiate. Omni Slash can be your way that you start the fights. The Blink RP, which, by the way, Fata has rushed the Blink again, not going Arcane Boots, which used to be the go-to mag build. But with the no mana cost Blink, it seems that you can get away with this build a little more freely. That's a fast Blink, and I think what we'll see from C9 is using this to try and set up a killer on the map. Maybe they go for a smoke gank, Moonlight Shadow. Not quite ready yet, so if they want to sneak up, they will need to pop a smoke.
Yeah, yesterday we saw Sumail when he played Magnus. He did go for the Arcanes first, but yeah, to each their own. And when they do have this big Blink RP
arrow
online,
tracks
but
down
yeah,
Illidan top lane. This will be a massive takedown. The
Nice
Wisp, though,
save.
going to bail him out. So they have backup inbound. They're bringing in the mag. RP at the ready.
Charge coming too from Sedoy.
Oh, C9 smartly not going to go on this. Well, pop right back. In fact, they force out a 5-hero rotation, and now they're just free farming bottom and mid. So it ends up being, again, a C9 advantage, I would say.
They also force out the relocate, which was something I was going to point out. When Fata, you know, now as he has his Blink RP online, there is a relocate available for Polar to kind of counter fight with. But now that that will be offline, they could add pressure elsewhere, and it looks like they're just going to go for that mid-tier 1. So if they can get this down, an option to move in and get that early Roche becomes a lot more easy.
Yeah, RP was actually cooling down, so didn't actually see where it got used previously. But in any case, well, top lane, Bone7 tries to hold the tier 1. He'll end up getting punished. It's a tier 1 for tier 1 trade. The mid tower, a bit of a win here for Cloud9, but having to give up that kill, not ideal. Now the RP is ready. Blink, Skewer pulling in G. He can get the stun off here, lands it, but instantly brought down by an Omni Slash from the Eternal Envy Juggernaut. And now, with the level 2 healing, we're the Eidolons, and the mech already. 11-minute mech, Soul Ring, Boots, Big Daddy. This is your free farm Enigma in all his glory. He's already not just a core, but one of the top 3 farmers in the game.
Oh, Illidan not going to catch the pounce. Try to make it go into Big Daddy, but he turns him back with a big black hole. It's going to get silenced and stopped right there. He'll have to step away. Still pressure on him. They do take down the Enigma. Misery trying to leap and get the hell out of there. And now they go for Envy, who cannot spin his way to safety. He ends up being dropped. Now they look for Fata. He will be able to skewer to the high ground and will TP the hell out of there. Cloud9 end up losing 2. They take down FNG, all while adding a little bit of pressure towards that tier 2.
Still a win there for Asus.Polar, but they did lose the tier 1 mid. Very important tower, something that now Cloud9 with a Moonlight Shadow coming online soon with, I think, still plenty of smokes available. Yeah, 2 smokes in the base. They can use this extra space created on the map to search for some pickoffs, and, well, they may want to wait for their big ultimates. RP still cooling down. As we see Fata pick up his Robe of the Magi, he'll be going into a pair of power treads. And I think what we're going to see from Fata is the same build we saw from Sumail, where you don't actually max the skewer. Nowadays, it seems to be all about just leveling up the Empower to make your melee carry as strong as possible. Here comes Invis Illidan, moving around. They have a relocate, but you know, if the Radiant tier 1's down mid, then they go make that dive. But with that tower up, they just can't go for it.
The nice thing has been, since all that action was breaking out in the mid lane, Bone 7 suddenly has a Midas. And he was once the weakest one on the team in the early laning phase. Now he has this recovery path to go on. And Egg is available here, but look who's creeping in from behind. Misery is charged up.
But Hero, he leaves a second too late. Misery quickly dealt with. Now your Wiz coming in. They could lose more. No black hole. No easy way out. They do have the Supernova. They're going to drop it now, but that Egg will get focused. It costs Big One his life. It might cost Big Daddy his as well. No Omni Slash for 9. Charge coming in hot. Malefice was on cooldown. No follow-up, though. They'll settle for the 2 kills. And now just going to walk it off.
Big return fight. Cena not expecting that. Illidan just very patient with that invis, looking for the time to set up, and it was there at the top lane. Just after getting Bone 7 props for on the path to recovery, he does ultimately go down. A sacrificial supernova, if you will. Charge out on Fata now, as he's going to be able to quickly snag up a bounty rune.
Radiant team does see this coming. They've got that hill ward mid, so not a high percentage play, though. They may not realize the ward's there, but you know, I have to say in general, that's been one thing that C9 have really had the edge on, is the warding game. To just look at their vision right now. That is so good for them.
Any chance
mid
they
lane,
have.
Blink, RP. They got Sador.
All right, they got the Midnight Pulse, and that easily withers them down, and it makes for an easy finish right there. Just a one-man grab it. All the meanwhile, they get a big return kill, taking down Envy in the bottom lane.
He got worked, and all of a sudden, Illidan, 8.3k net worth, 4-0-2. This could be one of those Illidan Slark games that so many teams dread, where he just spirals out of control. Has a Wisp as a strong partner, though FNG is looking a little squishy right now, but he's going to try to mollify that problem. Works towards the Facilius here, I think, with the Ring of Protection. Maybe gets his Tranquil Boots. We'll see.
Do you like the amp damage that Asus.Polar do get to work with here? Lil setting things up with his maxed out Ancient Seal. And you put on top of that the Laguna, without a BKB, or without an Agnums rather, and all the additional burst she brings, can kind of make easy mincemeat of anyone here on Cloud9.
That's okay. Cloud9, they got a fat stack here waiting for Envy. I think they've decided it's time, boys. We got level 3 in power. Let's go. Let's go abuse this ability and get some additional farm on our Juggernaut.
It's like a full team effort here.
Yeah, it is. Envy's not that far. No Mask of Madness, no Yasha. He actually skipped the Mask of Madness, which has been, I feel like it's the first item after your upgraded boots and your Keela for almost every jug, but this time around, it seems early Mata is what he wants. Is a pretty good item to, or at least the Yasha. Doesn't have to be a Manta, but I think versus the Skyrat, that may be the main reason he goes for this, just to deal with that obnoxious silence. No? Okay. Never mind. Changes his mind.
Be quiet,
back
LD.
for the Mask of Madness.
Quiet. Mask of Madness. Easy grab
Gets
there
the
for
value
LD.
blade of Alacrity.
Well, they smoke. Scout out this top lane for now.
Both teams on the smoke. Radiant team did not see the Dire smoke, but they're headed the wrong way. They may be expecting, you know, it is Cloud9, and they love these little Roche sneaks, but
they think it's
this
Roche.
time around, it's just the more normal play, which is just pushing top as Radiant. Unfortunately for Asus. I feel like more often than not, if you go smoke towards the pit, you'll actually catch them and kill Cloud9 there in that situation, but you know, this time around, not the case. Do they want to defend top, or are they just going to look for their trade? You see Envy, he's the only man showing top lane. And it seems they will
4 TPs to mid lane for Cloud9 now, just to immediately retreat.
My shadow was used. No dire vision of this. The Sentry Ward gets planted, though. They're going to see this movement in. Illidan, that's the Dark Pact off the RP. He leaps to the north. He's going to dodge his way out of here. Black Hole is available. Mystic Flare dropping Fauna low. No kills just yet. Sadoy, though, in danger. The egg will bring him down as your Wisp relocated somebody back. Well, just itself, it looks like now. Illidan rushing in again. He's diving the tower against the Black Hole, and FNG is going to get pile drived in. They got 2. Illidan survives through this, though. Fada being low as the chase comes out. And now Eternal Envy, his turn to run. He's deployed the Omni Slash to little avail as a wild Lil appears and is quickly brought down. That was a very awkward engagement for Asus.Polar. They used the relocate early. Then Illidan comes charging in. The Black Hole got insta-canceled there. I didn't see what actually did it, but something almost immediately stopped it from going off. And it was kind of a risky move going onto the Black Hole under tower, but ends up being a relatively even trade.
Yeah, that was all led in. Fata made the immediate RP jump onto Illidan, and it was FNG who thought he needed to pull out that kind of a save with the relocate. Couldn't get it, or they didn't need it, and he ended up just taking himself back. So at that point, things got pretty hectic So casualties on both sides, now square even 8-8.
The big thing I think is Relocate's coming off cooldown and RP down for 30, Black Hole down for 140 seconds. So if Asus wants to make a play, this is a good window of opportunity to do it, as well as Moonlight Shadow also being on cooldown, by the way.
Yes. They make a ping out towards the C9 jungle front here. It looks like they could gather. Who's got the dank? Looks like it is Lil. So if they do want to pop it, they can make a go, and I certainly agree.
Little purple haze here.
Yeah, you know, I mean, while the cooldowns are out, this is their best chance. Cloud9 really showing themselves here in the mid lane.
Charging Eternal Envy. RP is waiting on the backlines, though. Fada could set up a big one. There's your RP. Catches out two. Pile drives them on back. They are tanky defensive relocate. Bring Nillanen back, but he wants to go in. He's going to chase on forward. He's fighting into the egg. He needs to leap out and will end up falling in the end of that Phoenix. They get a 3-hero stun out from the Lina. Not good enough, though. FNG will fall as well, and Cloud9 march onwards. Arrow will have a little fish here. Will able to summer soul his way back towards the well, but damage is done, and I mean, they made it easy for the Mags there.
Well, intentional or not, Misery's arrow had connected very nicely onto G, and your Lina was then out of the battle the whole time. It was a full duration arrow, and she had no way of participating, and by the time she did, the dust had already been settled. She managed to snipe in quick, you know, the one Laguna to take out Envy, which is the best target you could ask for, but they lose so much more on top of it. And
but look at how, yeah, I mean, look at how much Envy's catching up, even with that death. Farming these ancient stacks, taking the tower top. At some point, C9 may try to walk into the Roche pit. He's still farming despite that death. It really needs to do more to slow him down. And as the game goes along, it does get to the point where Cloud9 maybe get the refreshers up. We're still looking like 15-20 minutes further into the game, but I feel like Asus will start to feel the heat a little bit. That their lineup is more about split push and finding pickoffs, and at some point, you can just blow one big ult, a Black Hole or a RP, just to kill a single hero and have more in reserve in case Asus try to respond to it.
Nice DD going to be picked up here from Eternal Envy, and well, you're saying if they're going to be feeling the heat, they certainly will. Veil picked up here from Bone 7. Really wants to take advantage of that big burn damage that he can dish out.
This hero has insane magic damage just in its own right, so it's a cool pickup.
He needs to get level 11. Get that egg leveled up. It's a little too flimsy. Like a Fabergé right now.
5 attacks. He did get it off the. I think the last 2 fights he got it off both. He's kind of made up for the flimsy nature by being very patient with how he deploys it.
Yeah.
But a big thing for Cloud9 has just been maintaining their towers. This tier 1 mid, tier 1 bottom, because the towers are up, they're able to respond quicker to any Asus movement, and Asus don't really get to play their game. They don't get to play tower diving, chasing, YOLO Dota, which is exactly what you want with the Slark, Wisp, and Spirit Breaker. These are just aggressive heroes. Now, double Shadow Blade. G gonna grab one as well. It further improves their ability to just find pickoffs, but
Misery's got a gem. Misery had bought a gem. This is good timing for Cloud9. They want to look to D-Ward. They want to clear out this Roche pit area. They want to claim it for themselves, and they don't want Polar to feel comfortable, as they have not been this whole game. And, well, Polar probably have a hunch something is up over here, and they're looking to flank through from both sides. As the Eidolons push down this bottom lane, they smoke right past it here. Both sides smoked. Oh, this could get interesting.
Still, it's a bit of a Cloud9 lead now. The Midas beginning to pay off. The Ancients working their way, but do have to keep an eye on the towers. They're up 4 towers to 1 here, so that is a somewhat misleading lead. When the last fight happened, they got a tower, so it shot the graph up quite a bit. Top lane. Still,
they saw the beam, I think.
Polar. This time they know, it seems like they may suspect the Roshan. They're in the neighborhood. They're going to scout it out with the Dragon Slave, but already the big boy's dead. Now they're going to Cyclone up your Spirit Breaker into the air, and now the Black Hole pulls in 2, the LARP and another 2, sucking them into the Black Hole, into certain doom. 3 heroes brought down. They can't even get their Slark out, and the Wisp will be coming back, I believe, when this relocate ends, but they're going to ignore the Wisp and just hunt G down. Double damage. Eternal Envy on the chase. G frantically trying to scramble a TP out, but he won't make it. Sama slaps him down. Man, that was just a thing of beauty. Black Hole on 2. RP bringing 1 more hero into it, then they skewer them around, and just an ugly, ugly Roche fight for Asus.Polar.
It was like unfortunate timing for Polar and perfect time for Cloud9. Just close enough where it entices Polar to go in to try to take a fight, but it's just enough time where Cloud9 can get the easy, quick Aegis, turn back, and make a fight work out for him.
It's so unfortunate for Asus, because they were expecting that type of play from Cloud9, but when they didn't guess the right time. You know, they went for it earlier. Cloud9 were pushing top. Cloud9 gets a free tower there, then comes back and wins the fight mid. And now, when they go in a bit late, that's when Cloud9 are doing it. Unfortunate for Asus, but you know, a lot of it does come down to the warding game, where Asus just have not really been able to keep that much vision up. And with earlier it was Cloud9 putting down good wards, and now it's Asus A, losing towers, and B, playing against the gem, where even if they drop wards, they're unlikely to keep them up.
Yeah. Credit to Misery for maintaining the vision here for Cloud9. Whether holding the gem or getting those early wards down, we saw the benefit of this one here at the bottom lane. Once they took that tier 2, they threw the ward up, and they've been holding nice aggressive vision.
Illidan, are you going for this, my friend? This is a bold maneuver with Misery in the neighborhood.
Illidan, you could just tell he's like, I want to play aggressive. This is my play style, but I've been punished already.
Yeah, it's his play style, and it's really the way the lineup's built.
But they get punished every time. The timing just isn't there, and the counterfight from Cloud9 seems to be always one step ahead, and they can kind of control this dominance because they have that much more power at this point in the game. You know,
the way they've itemized, and I think even more so the draft, they just have to fight. This is a lineup built to fight, but if you can't fight into Cloud9, then what do? They're not as strong in the 5v5 engagements, and Cloud9 just continue to demolish towers. They look to go high ground here quickly in game number 1. Drop the healing ward now, and Eternal Envy be in the front line. Well, they've not chosen to max that ward yet, by the way. Leaves it at level 2. They will sweep around from the rear. Illidan gets used immediately. Arrow setting up. He did not get off a Dark Pack. Now pulled back in, brought down. Easy kills.
No RP necessary either, so they still get to hold that.
That's all it takes.
Oh, man. So Polar in a situation here where they can't really defend as well as they'd like. It's just this Wisp and Skywrath, who are not the best at anti-push. G's going to try his best, unleashing any skill he can to slow them down. And Cloud9, even without Black Hole, just as confident to stay planted here and push while they can.
That's a good point. They don't have Black Hole, and they're still going in.
Yeah, that just shows that they are very comfortable at this point in the game.
It's just the way the lanes are right now as well, where Asus.Polar still yet to take that tier 1 mid. I think the creeps may have gotten the tower bottom, but either way, here comes round 2 of the push. Glyph forced out. Slark up in 16. I'm sure if Cloud9 want to stick around for an actual... Oh, here we go. Omni slash FNG. See you later. Hunting for a bit more. Will Manta right out of that silence. With that, Dakota, this may be your first lane of wrath.
Charge there, but immediate self-fuels. They still have RP and Egg, so the team fight is still there even without the Black Hole, but by this point, Black Hole's up and ready to go. Illidan moves forward. Got to be careful. Tries to go right for the Egg, but they're going to bait it out. They jump in RP and Black Hole on top of it. They're going to just wipe the floor with Asus.Polar, and it's an immediate game 1. It only takes 25 minutes for Cloud9 to get the job done. Unbelievable.
Brutal. That was just a very one-sided beatdown. I'm impressed. Cloud9 looked solid. They did well in the laning stage. Asus.Polar did not contest the Enigma jungle. They did not find any early kills with the Spirit Breaker offlane. Cloud9 had a good ward bottom to scout early charges. They weren't able to snowball the Slark despite a really early start. Illidan went, I think it was 4. He actually was doing pretty well. 4-0 and 3. He was close to snowballing. Then they lost the fight mid, and from there it just felt like it was comfortably all Cloud9 all the way. I think when you see this Magnus Jug draft as well, you really got to contest their Ancients. It seems like whenever a team runs this combo, we saw it from EG yesterday, you and I were casting that in America, they just saw, oh, hey, 3,000 gold for the team. It's like a tower, except that you can build more towers and kill them. It's just ridiculous how much income they're able to pile up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like what Cloud9 did there is anything new and innovative. That's something we see from like your Secret Squad and stuff. If they go with that big kind of jungle lineup where you just get greedy there, you get your mech, and you start taking objectives, that opens up the map. And then once you have that much space to work with, you just kind of swallow up the other team. So maybe it's on Polar to kind of expect like that's something they're coming their way and take the initiative to fight it back. But that's not the case here in game 1, and we'll have to see if they could change things up for game 2. But it looks like Cloud9 are going to be ahead 1 matchup here in the best of 5.
All right, it is a best of 5. Lots of room here for Asus.Polar to bounce back. But guys, you are watching the Summit 3 brought to you by Gigabyte G1 Gaming. I'm LD. He's KOTLGuy. It was a quick game 1. It could still be a very long best of 5. But we'll be back after a brief break for that game number 2. Stay with us.